So while speaking about Joe Biden, this person says inflation, crime, border security, wars, just to name a few. There's a reason. There's a reason has the second worst approval late history with only Nixon being worse. I think you meant to say there's a reason he has the second worst approval rating. Okay, so let's deal with this step by step. Inflation. You think Joe Biden caused global inflation? Inflation is happening around the world. Has happened for the last 5 years since COVID around the world. With some countries being over 100%, over 200% inflation. You think Joe Biden caused that? I'll bet you're the same person, the same kind of person that tells us that Joe Biden doesn't even know his own name and can't put his pants on. Yet he somehow caused global inflation. Explain to me how he caused global inflation. Wars? Joe Biden hasn't started any wars. We haven't started any new wars under Joe Biden. He has aided our allies in wars that they are engaged in, and he ended America's longest war, but he hasn't started any new wars. Just to name a few. There's a reason he has the second worst approval rating, late history, with only Nixon being worst. You know, for the do your own research crowd, you fucking people sure do hate doing research. You say Joe Biden has the second worst approval rating, with only Nixon being worse. So let's take a look at the presidential approval ratings, highs and lows. Joe Biden's high was 63%. Joe Biden's low was 31%. The previous president, Donald Trump, his high was 49% and his low was 29%. Oh, look at that. Lower than Trump's, or lower than Biden's. Right off the bat, we can see that you don't know what you're talking about, as Donald Trump had a lower approval rating than Joe Biden. Obama had a high approval rating of 76% and a low of 37%. George W. Bush had a high of 92 and a low of 19. There are two presidents right there with a lower approval rating than Joe Biden. Kind of blows your whole second worst only to Nixon out of the water, eh? Joe Biden's lowest was 31. Trump's lowest was 29. Bush's lowest was 19. Nixon down here had a high of 70% and a low of 23%. George W. Bush had a lower approval rating than Nixon. See, these things are easily verifiable by just doing a search of official websites. They keep official tallies of things like this. And then you don't have to look like such a fucking jamoke making claims that are far from true. An ounce of research would have prevented you from looking like a total jackass in this comment. An ounce.